The cover on this junk journal was originally a used book from the bookstore, hardcover book for $1, and I ripped out the contents and made a junk journal out of it. On the cover I glued some scrapbooking paper and I glued down some blue cheesecloth with some white glue, and then also painted some metallic purple and green to coordinate with the scrap paper. The back is pretty much the same except a little plainer. This embellishment was a piece of nylon cord that I ran zigzags down the cord with my sewing machine with some nice shiny embroidery thread, and then I took and coiled it up and glued it down onto a flat disc and glued it on the front with a metal washer covered in alcohol ink so it'll stick, and just a little embellishment from scrapbooking on the center. It's very, very thick. It hardly closes at all. I didn't know what I was really doing when I started this, because this is my first my first junk journal, and so I thought I had it skimpy enough in signatures so that when I started to fill it in, it got so fat I couldn't close it. So I removed a signature, and then it was still too fat, and I removed another signature. So I didn't really want to remove anymore, and I know I could put some sort of a band closure around it. So I might still do that, but I'm just going to leave it fat like this. I utilized a lot of scraps and garbage and recycling things for this journal. I had all these colorful bits of rice paper from a project I was doing, and they were so colorful and pretty that I just couldn't throw them away. So I chopped them up extra small, and I took a piece of plain white paper and I did some spray adhesive around the whole paper, and then I just patted these down, cut out a heart shape, and I glued some extraneous little pieces here so it wasn't such a hard line of a heart, and then just simply sewed around with a sewing machine. And so this would have all normally just been thrown away ordinarily. So this is from a dictionary entry. In the background here is just some paint on a paper that was in the reject box. One of the things I really enjoy doing is taking a photo from one source and then completely adding text from a completely different source. So when they're together, they're just a little humorous. And this was from a sheep and wool festival event that I got a catalog for in the mail. And the frame is a colorful magazine page that I had rolled up with a wooden skewer and then flattened down, pushed it down to make it flat, and cut the corners at an angle so it would look more like a picture frame. This is some free wrapping paper you get. Sometimes businesses will send you promotional things. This is a cloth pocket and a little mini book with some scraps and images held together with cotton yarn, and it has scrap paper in it. It's not really blank, but it is empty, so just for visual interest, so it's not just blank white pages. I'm a knitter and crocheter, so these kind of things come from the catalogs and the yarn labels and different little projects I've worked on, so that's all that collection on that page. A couple of just really scrap paper from the scrap pile, some magazine text. This is a couple of dictionary pages sewn together with the kilt entry sort of featured there. And a little embellishment of some paper discs and a little button in the center. I have an old House and Garden magazine from 1928 that there's the date, I really got a lot of images out of. So that's what this first one is here. And I'm not sure if it was an article or an ad, but I like the title of it. So, and this picture seemed to go well with it. She's in her gravy boat bath, and if you live near a Trader Joe's, you know that they send out flyers with these old-timey images with a little humor to it. And Trader Joe's is a a grocery chain for specialty foods. The embossing powder was called something like antique pink or shabby pink or something, but I thought it looked like soap or bubbles, so I put it around there in a coordinating index card. This piece of paper, I was doing some speckle dye experimentation, and I didn't hate it enough to throw it away, so I used it. This is from 2 different books. You can tell by the color of the pages, but those went together in a sense. And the Dachshund dictionary entry. I own 2 Dachshunds, Babs and Mitzi, so they had to have their mark on the book. A couple of page flags. This is from a children's book, and this was from some other source entirely. There's coffee dye on this cardstock as well as on the wrapping paper behind it. And just to make it look a little grungy, I did some messy sewing on the machine. This is a piece of a thank you card that I just cut with an interesting scissors and added some pencil lines to make it look like it was for notes or something. I have a book on how to do sketching, how to draw, and that's where she came from. Some lace and some nice ribbon. This little doodad is actually a jewelry finding and a couple of sequins, and this is a piece of cardboard that had some tissue glued on it for texture and then shined up with diamond glaze. And that was in the scrap box too. Background paper is just old experiment, and I took some packaging, and actually it might have been a page protector, I don't remember, and I sewed the different partitions in it and then glued the whole plastic down, and then slid these blank tags in, which may or may not have content in them in the future. Here's a napkin glued on and a piece of book, an interesting image from a book, and I reinforced it with some tape because these things sort of tend to rip. Little non sequiturs, I like them. I'm not sure if these are deer, because they kind of are funny looking deer, but I like them, kind of funny characters. That's from a kid's book, and I think they both are, but from 2 separate kids' books. Now this is a bead, supposedly. I got a tutorial. I followed a tutorial on YouTube for these beads. I don't know if it's supposed to be a jewelry bead. I would never really wear something that big, but it's actually stacked cardboard and then some decorative paper and the diamond glaze again. And diamond glaze is a lot like glossy accents, except not as thick. But you could always try clear nail polish. That might make a nice effect. Trader Joe's catalog again. Some book images, and there's a pocket here because I went back and forth and did not like going. These were originally 2 pages, and I did not like what was going on these pages, so I sewed them together and made a pocket out of it. I just eliminated them all together, and that was also when I was realizing that, hey, I need to try to not make this book so fat. This is from a graphic arts book, No Messy Sewing. This little piece is from packaging on some craft supplies. Years ago, I got some, I guess, journals from a yard sale. There was a huge box of them, and it wasn't personal stuff. It was just like this daily life of this woman. This is from the 60s. I got a couple of those they were interesting reading, just her daily life. This book on fish was just so pretty. I didn't cover up much of it. I just like the colors a lot here. And I know some people have glassine bags. I don't know where they get them, but I fashioned this out of wax paper. and used pinking shears to make that effect on the top. Here's from that old magazine, and originally it was a ad for floor polish, but it looked like the one was consoling the other, so that's why they're both looking down. Floor polish. To be continued on video number 2.